Good morning, bon dia. Thanks everybody for being here. We are very proud to have you over here, and we know it's not always easy for you to take time from the office. So Ronella talked about the macroeconomic perspective, and she also shared with us a little bit of the trends we've seen globally, but also in the region. We saw some very interesting research by our SPR team with Caroline. Now I want to walk you through a little bit of what we are doing, see how we're doing this year in terms of the strategies and initiatives, and always trying to link, of course, we want to make sure that our decisions are based on research. So let's start with our objectives this year. This year our objectives was to grow the cruise visitors by a minimum of 7%. We know, however, that last year we had a record-breaking year. And that was partly influenced by the hurricane season last year, which brought a lot of extra business to Aruba. So to be very honest, we will not be able to make that objective set. Had we known that the year was going to be as good as it was, maybe we would have put a different objective. Nonetheless, it's going to be a great year, and you'll see a little bit about that in the next few slides. Our second objective is to continue to develop the cruise business in 2019 and beyond. We know that the industry works at least 2 years in advance, so we are working in 2019 and 2020 already. That's something I talked to Hugo. Hugo is already living in 2020. So that's also what we do here. We have to look forward, and we want to also focus our efforts in the diversification and making sure that we secure the calls during the low season. And also, according to research, we know the longer they stay, the more they spend. So we also want to secure longer calls as well. Another objective is to stimulate on-island spend. As a matter of fact, that's one of the key objectives, and we are very glad to see very positive indications that we are going into the right direction, but we need to continue to focus on the right experience, and we know already that what we do today might not work tomorrow. So we need to continue to innovate and bring fresh new products and services for our cruise visitors. And that's not only the cruise visitors only. We are aware that the crew is also a very important part of the economic impact. So we also cater to the crew members and making sure that they also have the information and the services that they can enjoy on our island. And we know that they will recommend to their cruise passengers as well. So that's very important. And we also want to make sure, as Ronella mentioned, because when they are here on a cruise, it's a very great opportunity for them to get a flavor of Aruba, get a great experience, and a great way to entice them to come back. So a conversion strategy is very important as well. So let's see what's happening this year. So as I mentioned, the 7% is not going to happen, but we're seeing that September year to date we are at 5.8% growth compared to last year. So this is over 568,000 passengers from January to September accumulatively. This means 228 calls. And here we see a 1.3% growth in terms of calls. In terms of the low season, as you know, the low season is from May to September. And we just finished September, so we can take a closer look at the low season, and we see 203,805 passengers. That's a 5.6% growth. So that indicates to us that most of the growth that we've seen this year has been concentrating during the low season, which is also an indication that our strategy to push the low season is going into the right direction. In terms of calls, we saw 68 calls, and this is a decline of 8.1%. And I think we can all agree that this is an indication that the trend of bigger vessels with more people is affecting these numbers. And in terms of the year-end projection, we still have 3 more months to go, so there's still a lot that can happen, but it's looking very, very positive. It's going to be flat, but if we take into consideration the occupancy that we see of the cruise ships, that sometimes they are over 100%, that this can help us yield higher results than projected. So we're going to be very close to last year's record of 792,000, and we're trending very close to it. And let's see, maybe we can reach that magical 800 number. Ugo is crossing our fingers for us. Thank you. So okay, so let's see in terms of the highlights what we've done this year, and one of the key events that we have during the season year is the Sea Trade Cruise Global event. So that's one of the most important conferences and trade shows, and it's taking place in Florida, and we had a great participation there. We had a booth, and it was a great moment to introduce our brand new Minister of Tourism back then, and we also highlighted the 60 years. And of course, we had to bring part of our flavor through the music. Touch of Steel was there. We brought some dancers to show a little bit of the carnival and other folkloric types of dances and outfits. So, and we received a lot of great coverage and a lot of attention, both here in Aruba, but more importantly also during the event. And of course, it was a great opportunity to meet with our partners and talk about what we can do better, how can we continue to grow the share for them, and of course also for us. Another important aspect this year also, and this is in the court of the Aruba Ports Authority, we saw that this year, and working very closely with the Royal Caribbean Cruise Lines, they undertook a maintenance strategy of the channel at the port in Arends. So that was very important to prepare the port for the arrival of the freedom of the seas. So one of the things that was done was a maintenance strategy to make sure that the depth, the draught, is at 12 meters. Another part was also the construction of 3 additional bollards of 150 tons each. Those are important so that the bigger ships can be moored safely. And of course, being bigger ships, we need stronger bollards as well. And the addition of 25 new Yokohama fenders. And this all investment about 5 million florins with the Port Authority. So thank you. So it's very important for us to continue to keep up with these trends, and we have to continue to enhance the port and our facilities to be able to cater to these new ships as well. Another highlight for us, certainly this year as part of ATA's educational program, was the certification of tour guides. We know that tour guides are super important. We know that, and that's what we hear every conference we go, and it's true. The tour guide basically can make or break the experience of our cruise visitors. And we are working very closely together with Aquila Center for Cruise Excellence, and we invite them down in June, and we had a great big group of tour guides, and as you can see on the picture, everybody was excited, and it was a very successful program. And we certified about 50 tour guides. And this afternoon we will have also training by Claudine, so it's more dedicated for tour operators, but of course we will also have the opportunity to hand out the certificates to our tour guides that did the training back then. Another important event also, and we know that travel agents in general have a very important contribution, not only for tourism, but specifically also for the cruise industry. So we know it can vary from brand to brand, from cruise line to cruise line, but it can be around as much as 50%. So we also focus a lot on the travel agent. And so we participated in the Cruise Line International Association trade show, the CLIA Cruise 360 event, and that took place in the month of April. And so it was a trade show and a conference, but we also had an opportunity and a workshop to train the travel agents. And the workshop was very well attended, and we trained 100 travel agents. So that was a great moment for us this year as well. Now, other highlights this year, and for sure it's continued effort that we are working on, is to work together with other destinations to continue to stimulate the Southern Caribbean cruising. So we have different initiatives that we've undertaken this year, and of course working very closely with our sister islands Bonaire and Curacao, and we are working for next year to have an ABC approach at for example, at the Sea Trade next year in 2019. So for us, it's a great opportunity because both Bonaire and Curacao are also very highly regarded destinations, and together we can make a stronger appeal, a stronger business case to the cruise line to say, hey, you know, it makes sense for you to, you know, to drive, so to speak, a little bit further down south to give your passengers a different experience. Also, we have also been in touch with St. Martin, our part of the Dutch Kingdom, and St. Martin being a very, very successful and popular cruise destination. And we were talking about the possibility to create Dutch Caribbean flavor itinerary. So it's a great way, and it's a great conversation with our sister islands. But of course, we also have received interests from other destinations such as Guadeloupe and Martinique. And for sure, Guadeloupe and Martinique both being home ports, that really is of our benefits because, as you know, we are a port of call. And being closer to other home ports really makes sense for us. And as both Ronella and Caroline made it very clear, the ongoing research, we want to understand our cruise passengers more. We want to know more about them and also about our own ability to be able to attract those more affluent cruise lines. And not only the cruise line, but we also need to understand that the ships, even though the bigger ships that come in have different profiles, and there are also a lot of high affluent, high spending cruise passengers in those ships as well. So we need to be able to differentiate between and use the niche roadmap to help us in capturing that and making sure that they have the right experience and to do so. So the research is very important. We certainly have started this year with more research and will be focusing more research in next year. So we want to make sure that we have a clear profile of our cruise visitors. And our education program will also have to continue. We need to continue to, like we say, to sharpen those proverbial knives to make sure that we're giving the right experiences. And in cooperation with Aquila Center for Cruise Excellence, we're going to continue to enhance our programs. We're going to continue to provide the certification to our tour guides, but also we want to work with the tour operators because that's where we can also create certification and making sure that the tour operators are more effective in terms of their business, but also for the opportunities to work directly with the cruise lines. And yeah, it's also maybe not so big, but I think it's worthwhile to mention that this year we had a record-breaking day on July 5th, which was the day with the ship with the most passenger ever in Aruba. So that happened on July 5th with the Carnival Vista, which is the sister ship of the Carnival Horizon that we received last Thursday, with 4,889 cruise passengers. So that's a great number. And we also have to remember that in addition to those passengers, we also have probably around 1,300 crew passengers as well. So thereabouts. So if you know that they're spending around $80 each, so it provides us also a great opportunity to maximize the opportunities that the cruise industry brings to us. And I also want to talk a little bit about how we try to make sure that we provide the right experience, that we, in this case, how do we stimulate on island spend. We have an information booth at the port, so it's not so much information. I prefer to call it a guidance and recommendation. So we can make sure that we provide the right opportunity and the right information so that they know what is available and guide them to the best areas, the best experiences according to what they are looking for. That's done through our booth in the port, but also with the help of the Aruba Excellence Foundation and their Happy Information Officer, which are also walking around in the downtown area or even in the port with their iPads and having all the information right at their fingertips and provide this to our cruise passengers. Other initiatives also is, as I mentioned, the crew and cruise incentive programs. We want to provide a little bit of an incentive in terms of discounts, added value, so that the crew as well as the cruise passengers can go out there and spend more. Basically, that's the bottom line. and as a direct, of course, support, especially in the downtown area, which is right across the street of the port. We also do, as an additional support for downtown area, distribution of reusable bags so that we can emphasize our friendly or environmentally friendly approach, and also use that as a marketing tool to inform them about itineraries, about different things that they can do in the immediate area. And of course, during the busy port days and overnights and longer duration, we also want to provide an extra enhanced entertainment and to make sure that they are focused on the attributes and our culture and our heritage. So that's together with Touch of Steel that also does that for us, and carnival dancers, for photo opportunities, things like that. And in tourism in general, but especially also in cruise tourism, partnerships are very important. So first we have to start in terms of the strategy, and this happens through the platform that we call the Cruise Committee, which is the government and the Ministry of Tourism, together with the Aruba Ports Authority and the Aruba Tourism Authority. So we sit at least once a quarter and make sure that we establish the strategy in terms of how we want to continue to develop the cruise industry, and of course, how do we maximize the opportunities that present to us. And one of our main partners, and that's something we hear quite a bit, is the Aruba Ports Authority. Wherever we travel, whatever we do, we're always together. And sometimes they think Josie or Humphrey works for ATA, and sometimes they think I work for APA. But it's all good because we are Team Aruba, and we get that comment quite a bit. So we want to make sure that we continue this approach. I know when I work in the stayover part of the business, that's also a strength of Aruba. So we want to continue to use that as a strength. We also are part of trade associations such as the Florida Caribbean Cruise Association and the Cruise Line International Association that provides us the opportunities to have more exposure, but also more importantly is the access to these cruise executives that everybody else wants attention. So we want to make sure that we use these platforms to continue to enhance our relationship and partnerships with them. On a more operational level, we also have the Cruise Action Task Force, and it's a partnership with, again, with the Aruba Ports Authority, but also with our friends at the police department. We have our friends at the Department of Public Transportation, Department of Public Works, but of course also the Taxi Association and the Tour Operator Association, and last but certainly not least is the Cruise Line Agents. So it's a great partnership to make sure that on a more operational level we can troubleshoot any issues that arrive, and how can we continue to enhance the logistics and the safety and the overall experience of the visitors. And that's something we always say, if we focus on to improve the experience of the visitor, everything else falls into place. So that's also a great platform, a great partnership that we want to continue to enhance moving forward. And of course, as I also mentioned, with other destinations, that's also a very important partnership. In terms of enhancing the experience, ATA, together with partners, we are undertaking different projects. For example, one that was recently launched is the pilot program of the quality seals. Very important for us to make sure that whatever we are offering has the right standards of quality. As I mentioned also, the educational program, together with partners such as Aquila, but also our local partners, the Aruba Excellence Foundation. We want to make sure that we continue to give that training for everybody that's in the front of the house. And internally as well, through our friends at the Product Development Department and with their different initiatives, but for sure also with the Destination Development Plan, to make sure how can we continue to look at our product and look ways in how we can improve it. Continuously, we also meet with tour operators and provide the guidance that often we bring back from those trips, the feedback that we get from the cruise lines or different partners, and make sure that we can transmit and have that communication with them, and if there's possibilities for them to work directly with the cruise line. That's also very important. And also a partnership, as I mentioned as well, is direct partnership with the different, with APA, with the police department, the Department of Public Transportation. And also very important is the Tourism Product Enhancement Fund, which is a fund that can also contribute in enhancing certain products that we have and creating new products as well. And for 2019, we different objectives, of course, like Ronella mentioned, we are aiming to, in terms of, we don't want to put additional pressure on the high season. So we want to maintain the levels that we've seen in 2017 and in 2018. And as you see, we are having a great year. So for next year, I think it looks like it's going to be a very positive year as well. We want to continue to focus on efforts to diversify the industry, continue to build our summer program, making sure that it's more robust. That's where we have the capacity to continue to grow. It's not easy, but that's what we want to do. And continue to make sure that the cruise passengers stay longer on shore and longer at the port. We will continue to focus on island expenditure. And we want to include, and one of the things we want to do for next year is expand our crew and cruise incentive programs to include experiences as well. And as I mentioned already, Ronella mentioned it, Caroline mentioned it, and I will mention it as well. It's very important. We want to make sure that we convert. So it's a great opportunity to have these visitors for a few hours, but it's also a great opportunity to entice them to come back for a longer stay or on a cruise. But in any case, it's part of our stayover strategy, and ideally we want to see them stay for a week at least. And so yeah, that's the objectives and some of the key initiatives and highlights. Very, not to sound repetitive, but again, it's a very strong part. The Aruba Ports Authority, together with APA, we want to create incentive programs where we can continue to diversify our cruise industry. We want to be able to attract smaller ships, more affluent lines, but also it needs to be based on a segmentation strategy as well. As I mentioned, the bigger ships also have profiles that are very attractive. We want to continue to stimulate tour operators to enhance their products or develop new products. So as we know, there's a high index of repeat visitation. So we want to make sure that we have something new to talk about, something new to show. And considering the development at the port, where the cargo operation was moved to Barcadera, and the port is getting ready to develop this important real estate, we want to continue to leverage a partnership with APA to make sure that the development adds value to the tourism industry in general, but especially for the cruise industry of the well-known port city, Oranjestad. And finally, of course, continue to foster the Southern Caribbean cruising and working together with our other destinations and with the cruise lines in doing that. So quick projection for next year. So we see a projection for next year of over almost 700 and a little bit over 772,000 passengers, which if you consider the occupancy that we expect each year, it's going to be a great year. We're going to be very close to what we are seeing this year. And 314 calls, again, we see a lower amount of calls due to the bigger ships. We're receiving the Horizon, from Royal Caribbean, the Vista, the Freedom, but with the dredging, we can also see that trend to continue. And yes, we have to continue to focus on the low season months, because that's where we have the capacity and that's where we can continue to provide the support for the economy, specifically the downtown area. So finally, I'd like to thank you all. In reality, I just had an interview in the morning, and they asked me why is it important to have this moment, and it's also a conversation with Hugo. It's like tourism is like a concerto. Everybody needs to play their part, and it has to be in harmony. If there's one instrument that is out of sync, is off beat, it will not sound as it should. So we all have to work as a philharmonic orchestra to create a beautiful harmonic sound that is the cruise industry. So thank you for being here, and thank you for